Well, as we wrap up the month of November, a lot of folks are closely watching weather in South America. That's a big topic for us here this week. Also, taking a look at some snowfall in parts of the U.S. here over the holiday weekend. Joining us now to talk about things, Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist with Nutrient Ag Solutions. Eric, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. And let's start with South America. I think that's what's on a lot of folks' minds. We saw traders really kind of step out of the markets over the holiday because of the weather in South America, waiting for new forecasts. So, what is the latest that you are seeing in terms of Brazil and Argentina here as we round out the month of November?
Yeah, it seems to be one of those time periods where you kind of pick your model based on your market position. So if you need it to be really dry in Brazil, then you just go after the GFS. It's very dry, probably over about 35% of Brazil's northern growing areas. It's got better rains in southern Brazil, even in parts of central Brazil. So I'm talking like Mato Grosso do Sul over to Goiás. It's got better rains. And then they all look pretty good for Argentina, both the GFS and the European model. The flooding issues in southern Brazil continue to be an issue to be talked about. But if you needed more rain, if you wanted the rain in Brazil, then you go with the European. It's probably only got about 20, maybe 25% of Brazil's northern growing areas experiencing really dry conditions. That being said, you look at the change compared to a year ago in terms of the vegetation health from as viewed from satellite. And while it looks way better south and looks way better in Argentina, but that's easy to do because Argentina was deep in drought last year at this time. The only places that really show up really, major difference are northeastern Brazil, which is a bit surprising given how much emphasis we've put on the problems that have hit Mato Grosso. So, not out of the woods yet. It's going to take about a perfect December to kind of stop the bleeding. And don't trust a single long range forecast. Just don't. A lot of folks are getting pretty speculative about what they think is going to happen. And I'm just going to tell you, those same folks didn't see what's happening right now happen. So I'm living in this 2 week world. Not going to step outside of it till I have something confident to say. And where am I getting confidence from? Well, I'm not getting it from El Nino. I mean, it's there, but it's punching about half as hard as we thought it would at this point in the year. So, long answer to your short question, Brazil's going to continue to be top of mind until we see how December rains pan out.
And short term here, the next couple of days ahead, it looked to me like a lot of scattered showers in the
Yeah.
forecast. Is that kind of what we're looking at here the next few days, Eric?
Yeah, and normally that's what you get in Brazil. It's just that you get it every day. Like there's no
Yeah.
stop in the scattered showers, and we didn't have that back in early November through mid-November. So, yeah, it's some parts of it are looking fine. I think we're going to be okay. Certainly, the extreme heat, if there is any, it's in the east. So it's not like it was 2 weeks ago when we talked when I was like, it's going to be 110 degrees for 7 straight days, right in the heart of their growing area. We're not there now, but still, it's not settled at all.
Let's move up to the US. And I know some folks here over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend got some snow. And behind that, some cold temperatures, some blustery winds. I know some folks in the upper Midwest are going to see wind chills below zero here early this week. So it sounds like a little shot of winter is making its presence known here as we head into December, Eric.
Yeah, and it's good. A lot of that snow hit the winter wheat belt. I mean, parts of Kansas picked up 8 inches of snow. We had across parts of Missouri into Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, a big swath of about 4 inches of snow. There's not much moisture in it, but there's moisture in it, right? And so we like to see that. Now, you mentioned the colder air. Yeah, we've got it. It's not just here. I mean, it's also in California. Parts of California right now, this morning, already down below 30 degrees. That's the Central Valley of California. I mean, that's a big time, a big producing area that just went over, quite cold. And then you see the lake effect that's about ready to take off. And I know I'm heading to Fargo today. I wish I was going to like Syracuse or Oswego because they might get 30 inches of snow in the next couple of days as the lake effect really cranks up. So you can get that. Big lake effect snow events are always in November and December when the lakes are still very warm. So a lot to be watching in those two areas. But the rest of us, nothing. We got to wait till later in the week. Severe weather risk in the southern plains late this week. And then I'll be watching a big storm system in the midsection of the country come. Gosh, it won't be here until we get into, maybe Sunday.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Some things to watch there. Mississippi River, some of the snow that we got, and looking at some of these other systems coming up. How is that helping in terms of river levels, Eric?
Yeah, the river bounced back up over the weekend. It's now only 5 feet below the stage. Last week it was 9 feet. So it's good to see some moisture getting in. But I mean, we'd have to, if you ask me, Jesse, to dial up what I want, let's just do that, right? Wish cast for a few seconds. I don't like the fact that the whole of the Mississippi Basin is still sitting at like on average 2 to 5% soil moisture at 16 inches. We did this last fall. It was there in the spring, and that's what started us off on the wrong foot in spring. Okay, I would like a mild winter. I'd like a mild front half of winter. Make December mild, bring in lots and lots of moisture, make it very unpleasant, but make it fix the problems. What I'm talking about here is southwest flow, persistent storm systems. It's wet, it's mucky, it's muddy. You're going to hate it, but the soil's going to love it. And then once we get past maybe mid-January, I'd like 20 days of deep freeze. Let's call it mid-January to mid-February, and just blast that soil, knock the temperatures way, way down, works on compaction, works on pests. And then once March gets here, really active freeze thaw cycle to bust up that soil. I mean, I love late March snowstorms. Bring them on, and then get us into a wet April, and then just give us 2 weeks in May to kind of get everything finished up. So there you go, Jesse. That's my wish cast. And you say, well, can it happen? Well, not really, not with an El Nino like we have, and not with other factors competing against it. But that would be what we want to watch. We would cure a lot of U.S. drought problems if we could get that to occur.
I'll file that back into my memory, and we'll
Yeah.
see how much of that comes true here as we head into 2024. But good thoughts for sure, Eric. Some of those other factors that I think are influencing things with this El Nino and more that I know you wanted to hit on today: cold Europe, wet Australia. Let's talk about those two factors here first.
Yeah. So right now, over Greenland, a big ridge is building in. Now, if you're an East Coast United States snow lover, you want that later in the year. But as it stands, the big Greenland ridge is actually going to hit Europe harder. A lot of cold air coming in throughout Europe in the next here in 10 days. Big snows in the Alps. You probably saw some of the big snows at Ukraine over the weekend. So it's pretty cold in Europe. And then Australia. If this El Nino was a typical El Nino, I wouldn't be talking about rain in Australia. Yet from Queensland to New South Wales, Victoria, even parts of the Northern Territory, picking up decent amounts of rain. So this is why I would tell anybody watching that if you hear a long range forecast, just understand that forecaster is being speculative. We're looking at these individual pieces, trying to put it together, and no one's going to have this one figured out just yet. It's a lot of transition as we go now into the month of December. Meteorological winter starts on December 1, and we're going to see how this all shakes out in the next 4 to 6 weeks with El Nino finally hitting its peak.
All right. And the last thing for us here, and I should have maybe tied this with the Mississippi River because this
Yeah.
ties into shipping challenges for us, the Panama Canal. What is the latest you're seeing in terms of the levels on the Panama Canal and what we're watching there, Eric?
Yeah, well, if you base it off ship traffic, they're all still sitting at anchor. I was just looking this morning, so many still sitting at anchor. But then you kind of get, a little bit east of that big lake that's in the middle, and a little bit west, forgive me, and there's been decent rain. How much of that gets into the river, I don't know, but I would look at the overall setup and say that we have to have December rains in this area to stop kind of the major worry about what's happening in Panama. Because if we don't, we'll be talking about this all the way till next June.
All right. Well, a lot of things to take a look at. Folks can stay up to date with the latest weather information in their area and sign up for Eric's weekly weather newsletter. Just go online to ag-wx.com, ag-wx.com. With that, Eric Snodgrass from Nutrient Ag Solutions. Thanks for joining us this week, Eric. Have a great one. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. See you then.